Hello there, I am Larte here with CNR Extra live on Citi TV. Coming up in the next 1 hour. ECG accuses the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission of failing to give it a fair hearing before directing the company to give compensation to its customers over recent challenges.
Everybody who has a problem should follow the grievance process and go through PURC to start the process, and we will deal with it on a case-by-case basis. I still stand by that. It cannot be a block compensation to everybody.
Still ahead, residents of Weija start returning to their homes as water from Weija Dam spillage recedes.
An electric pump, but there's no lights for us to try and pump it out, so we are actually going to try and make a gutter so that the water can come out. Yes, so that's the plan. And then start clearing the things inside. And
also on CNR Extra, Central Bank increases its lending rate to 24.5% as it moves further to tame the country's rising inflation.
Under the circumstances, the Monetary Policy Committee decided to increase the monetary policy rate by 250 basis points to 24.5%.
And later, National Democratic Congress describes the Akufo-Addo government's fight against illegal mining as a failure.
The Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government has not exhibited any genuine commitment to the fight against illegal mining. And that their so-called fight against galamsey is nothing but a scam.
We have details of these stories and more here on CNR Extra on Citi TV. This show is interactive. What do you make of the stories we are bringing you? Share your thoughts with us here via WhatsApp 0550585832 or on Facebook and Twitter through the various social media platforms which have been displayed on your screen. Before we get started, let me introduce in studio today my colleague from the Citi newsroom, Hanson Agyemang. Good to have you here on the show.
Good to be here.
All right, thank you so much, Hanson, for agreeing to make an appearance on the show. Let's get started again and begin from the camp of the Electricity Company of Ghana. It is insisting that it will not pay compensation to customers who were affected by its recent system glitch, despite the directive from the PURC.
Let's bring you details of our stories and start with the ECG because its managing director, Samuel Dubik Mahama, is unhappy with the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission.
According to Mr. Mahama, prior to the issuance of a press statement directing the power distributor to reimburse affected customers, ECG was not given a fair hearing. This, he believes, affected the conclusion and demands of PURC with regards to what the company intended to do for ECG customers.
Now, in an earlier statement, the PURC ordered the ECG to pay one-time compensation to customers over its recent power crisis that left thousands of customers stranded for a week. Frederico has more.
In a statement, PURC ordered ECG under sections 11 and 12, subsection 1 of the PURC Act 1997, Act 538, and Regulations 41 and 45 of the PURC Customer Service Regulations 2020 to pay one-time compensation to customers over its recent power crisis that left thousands of customers across the country stranded for a week. Reacting to the orders, Managing Director of ECG, Samuel Dubik Mahama, says the compensation will be done to individual customers.
If you quite recall at my last press statement, I said everybody who has a problem should follow the grievance process and go through PURC to start the process, and we will deal with it on a case-by-case basis. I still stand by that. It cannot be a block compensation to everybody, because what we are also seeing is that just by one person saying something, there were panic buys. There were people that didn't need to form queues but were in the queues. So how do I compensate somebody who I shouldn't compensate? In the case of compensation, you have to prove damages, and there's a process for that. We thank PURC for putting out that notice as per their guidelines, It's quite unfortunate that they didn't give us an opportunity to explain our side of the story before they put out that statement.
The power distributor urged the public to desist from panic buying of prepaid credits. ECG says it has addressed all challenges that marred its metering systems, hence the need to refrain from any panic buying. Addressing the media, the managing director of ECG says all of its platforms are operational, including the vending app on phones.
The vending problem that occurred has been successfully resolved. All metering platforms are up and running. Our system is robust now. The necessary steps have been put in place to make sure that such an occurrence doesn't happen anymore. We've also realized that there are still a few more problems in Ashanti region. They've been worked on, and the network has improved. So gradually, we should slow down on the panic buys. If you're not running low, it's not that there's no power. There is power. Just take your time so that the lines will ease up, and then you can purchase power for yourself. As I already said, the meters are working very well. We took our time to bring each meter back online. And I'm happy to say that the power app is also working. It's also receiving good traffic, and we know that's the most convenient part for some of you. We are trying to make it a bit more robust so it can take more traffic, and try and put a lot more meter vending systems onto the app.
He also urged the public to desist from politicizing the operations of ECG. The MD denied signing any contract with Haptel, as reported in the public.
It's sad that we are bringing politics into what happened at ECG. Gradually, if we don't take care and we follow statements like that, we might end up polarizing the company. ECG doesn't have a contract with anybody called Haptel. ECG has a proof of concept understanding with Haptel. ECG hasn't agreed any percentages with Haptel. It is quite sad that in this day where we have the right to information bill, where you can get access to information, when you hear gossip, you choose to run with gossip. It is not fair to some of us. It is actually very painful, because you end up allowing and drawing attacks onto us, especially me.
The managing director of the Electricity Company of Ghana has assured the public not to panic buy prepaid credit, because all the platforms have since been resolved and everyone can go at any time, and even in the comfort of your home, use the app to purchase your credit. He again raised concerns about people trying to threaten his life, which he feels is totally uncalled for, and is just a human like any other person. And his service to Mother Ghana shouldn't warrant any form of threat. And the politicization of ECG internal issues, he believes, is totally unnecessary. My name is Fred Duho, reporting for Citi News.
The utility service provider is still bent on its decision not to pay compensation en masse, but they want to do that on a case-by-case basis. For me, what is quite incomprehensible here is what they mean by case-to-case. For me, I think that largely, following the system challenge, anyone who was affected might have suffered an irreparable damage in one way or the other. So if the PURC says that, look, compensate these people, I think it is a step in the right direction. So for me, it's quite difficult to even come to terms with the ECG, because everybody was affected.
Well, but you may want to understand them also from an institutional point of view, and from an institution that operates within a democracy. Regardless of what happens, everybody has a say. And so PURC, which being a regulatory body, taking a decision, I will understand if ECG will want the PURC to first hear from them, and then I'll take a decision on whether customers really should be compensated or not. The other thing about ECG's argument of persons who are really affected should make these complaints, and that the complaints should be verified and compensation be made. Ideally, that should be the process, because if we are saying that compensate ECG customers, somebody is in his house, nothing has destroyed or he's not had any loss as a result of this power distribution challenge, and then you ask for a wholesale compensation. Anybody at all who uses electricity will want to benefit. So I may want to agree with the ECG on the thinking that if you say that you really got or had something destroyed as a result of this challenge that ECG faced, come forward and prove same and you'll be compensated. And I don't think that that in itself is a decline to give compensation.
But even beyond that, morally, these people were affected through no fault of theirs. In fact, and one would say that it was as a result of the inefficiency of Electricity Company of Ghana. So on a moral ground, what wrong would they commit if they try to compensate these people?
Well, running a business and institution is not a matter of morality, but there's a utility argument in that morality. So if you say moral argument, they may want to shoot it down, but there's a utility argument in there. Mind you, this week is customer week.
That's
a
true.
lot of this week is customer week. A lot of companies are giving things to their customers. Now, ECG may want to say that they did not ask people who didn't necessarily need prepaid to go to their vending point just because somebody raised an issue about his or her inability to access prepaid credit. But the point is that you had a challenge. And as a result of that challenge, whether people needed it or not, these people were inconvenienced as a result of that problem. And the utility I argue here is that ECG is going around telling people not to engage in illegal connections. ECG is telling people to pay their bills as and when. You are asking people to be good customers. This is only a gesture that would enhance that sort of collaboration between ECG. And mind you, what will you give to people? A form of discount that if you are buying 200 cedis, say we add 50 cedis discount for you for the inconvenience. And really, ECG has taken people through inconvenience. So I don't think that it's only the argument of whether people had their things destroyed, but the fact that ECG inconvenienced people, and there's a utility and a business sense in ECG agreeing to do a wholesale discount or compensation for their customers. But for people who really lost a lot, and if you have to talk about monetary compensation, that is where I think that these people themselves should take it upon themselves to the ECG, to the PURC, petition the PURC, possible go there with their lawyers, let the PURC initiate their processes.
But for whatever evidence these people present, how are we able to verify? Hanson, what is it be difficult?
And I think that a lot of players within the space have made this. If I had food in my fridge and the food got spoiled as a result of this, I don't have to throw it away. And we've been saying this since day one the matter happened, that if you know you've lost something, keep it and make a case at PURC for compensation. But beyond that level of compensation to people who have lost things that they cannot do without, ECG, and let's just say the spirit of customer week should agree to this compensation that is coming from the PURC. But it'll be interesting to see how this ends, because this is a service provider going directly
after its regulator, and it'll be interesting to see how this pans out. If the ECG says that it really wants to meet with the PURC to find a lasting solution to this particular issue, let's see how the two bodies work out things, and then we find out how they are able to resolve these particular challenges that have been brought on as a result of the Electricity Company of Ghana's challenges with its prepaid metering system. But away from that, days after they abandoned their homes as a result of the spillage of the Weija Dam, residents of Weija and its environs have begun returning.
Let's take you to Weija because residents in there who had their homes and businesses taken over by the spilled water from Weija Dam have begun picking up the pieces. The Ghana Water Company began the spilling of excess water 4 days ago to save the dam from collapse. The spillage has consequently submerged homes and businesses close to the dam. Now, during a visit to the area on Thursday, residents were seen cleaning and scooping water out of their homes and others counting their losses. Citi News' Kwekwe Duamansa has more.
It's been 4 days of tribulation for residents of Weija and its adjoining communities like Ashbred, Titegu, Mount Carmel, and other affected communities. Since the spilling of excess water from the Weija Dam began last Sunday, community folks closer to the dam have had no option than to flee their homes, leaving behind their properties, which cost thousands of cedis. Cars, mattresses, television sets, among other things, all had a feel of the ration water which moved through the respective communities. Fortunately, on Thursday, affected residents heaved a sigh of relief as the water levels began receding. During a visit to the affected communities, a camera captured many households resorting to the use of water pumps to scoop water that had taken over their homes and compounds. The talented Royals International School, which had to shut down temporarily following the situation, was captured getting tidied by management in order for teaching and learning to resume.
It was just a sudden we saw the water spilling. The spillage was so fast. So what I intended doing was rather to evacuate my children faster for them to reach their homes before coming back with the stuff to see. So we couldn't pack all our stuff. Some books are gone, some decks, but God being so good, we've managed. You've seen the changes, and we are getting ready for school. So when you enter here, you can see chemicals, everything is working. And then making sure that our children will come without even experiencing anything that we have once experienced here.
So when are we expecting them to come?
We are having BEC. This is a YX center. So hopefully next week we are starting BEC. Our final year students are starting school tomorrow. And then the whole school will start possibly Monday morning.
However, this lady's family will have to spend more days in an uncompleted story building as their home is still inaccessible.
Some of us are sleeping at the top and some of us are relocated to our family members who are close. So that's where we're seeking refuge for now.
For the 4 days?
Yes, for the 4 days, yeah. Family members, there are family members, so there are staff around. But for those who are sleeping at the top, I don't know how they are coping. There are mosquito nets and mattresses and stuff. So we just have to manage for the time being. Then after that, we'll be able to clear the water and go back into our house. An electric pump, but there's no lights for us to try and pump it out. So we are actually going to try and make a gutter so that the water can come out. Yes, so that's the plan. Okay, sure. And then start clearing the things inside. And
Ethel Larte is not in this situation alone as residents of Old Titegu continue to count their losses.
Main part, that's what we're going to see because you're into me. And now your fridge in India, my says, so we upload a card here. And not TV known so because Yamanin be more jury. You're packing Yaman be more jury by Antimini. And a point I could buy Mr. Nimudia, any dear, Minyanko because still press and no honor. To Minyanko Hoy.
This is Roman Catholic, and we are back on the Roman Catholic. It seriously affects.
Like everything is gone?
No. Like our Nema Warrior Demono and Shedan Koya there, but we are able to raise all those things up. So if I say Nema, you saw a Demono, Yem Pan in there. We are able to protect it. So we are okay about that. But by God so great, I mean, I didn't start it since Monday. And but they say, cut down.
As at the time of filing this report, some affected residents at Old Titegu were seen loitering around. The assemblyman for the area expressed worry over the yet-to-be-shared relief items promised by the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. He says NADMO must expedite processes to get affected residents relief items.
Information received is NADMO is getting ready to bring us some relief items, and they need data of people affected. in this circumstance, I believe some people are stuck in the house that cannot come out. I don't know how they want us to collect their names, but they've sent their officers to take names of people around. We move some people to safe havens that they are able to get the data of those people. So I'm just wondering how to get other people affected.
Residents of Tetegu and Weija and its adjoining communities continue to reel under the impact of the Weija Dam spillage that was done some 4 days back by the Ghana Water Company Limited. They still insist that the Ghana Water Company Limited could have actually informed them prior to this exercise, and that's also calling on the National Disaster Management Organization to expedite action to bring them relief items. Reporting from Old Tetegu, my name is Kweku Agyemang.
The water has receded. Residents are going back to their places of abode. A return to normal. I don't think that's the case because the main issues, I want to believe, have still not been tackled.
Well, yes, and the main issues certainly cannot be tackled just within this 2 or 3 days. But it's at least some sort of relief to hear that the water is receding. However, this should be a learning curve for all stakeholders, that the Ghana Water Company Limited, that if indeed they did announce of the opening, they should amplify the said announcement the next time they want to open it beyond this or close to this. The residents themselves should heed to these announcements and take their valuables and move to places, because we've come to understand that indeed when the waters come, they have places to go to. So they shouldn't stay there and wait for the water to meet them. But ultimately, as we indicated, central government should take it as a matter of urgency to make sure that at least the major things I've been talking about, the demolition, the reclassification of the place, would be done, and not more.
They shouldn't be reactive. They should go ahead of the disaster and then solve issues. Well, in fact, the MP for the area has been explaining in terms of what it will look like going forward in dealing with the situation.
Of Parliament for Weija, Baritina Nayele Mensa says the Weija Dam spillage and its related issues go beyond the people living on waterways. According to the MP, more pragmatic steps should be taken to ensure that the annual ritual of the dam being spilled and the subsequent flooding ends. There's more in this report.
On Thursday, the Member of Parliament for Weija Gbawe, Tina Mensah, embarked on a tour of communities affected by the spillage of the Weija Dam to assess the extent of damage. Speaking to journalists on the flooding situation, Tina Mensah said dredging of the Dinsu River, coupled with other measures, could help deal with the menace.
It's about time that we dredge the Dinsu itself, because for a long time, the Dinsu, over 20 years now, it has never been dredged. And the water is so shallow. And when there is a shallow water and then huge volume of water is coming, you know it overflows. That is what is happening in Tetegu. Tetegu, people that doesn't know, is far, far, far away from the dam. But a lot of people think Tetegu is just close to the dam. It's far away from the dam. But because of the channel that the water passes through Tetegu, and the channel itself is blocked. It's not been districted for quite some time now. The volume of it cannot take the volume of water that comes through it. So a little water then is placed over its banks and then comes to Tetegu. I think that is what we saw. And then from my chest, they've not opened about 4 turbines at a go before. They do it gradually, but this was overwhelmed. There should be a solution. There should be a solution, because there are many villages who need water. And we always complain about villages not having water, but we are throwing water away. This water could be stored somewhere, and then later on we can manage it. If we have an extended dam here, this water could be channeled to a reservoir, and then at the dry season, when we are not getting water, we can harvest water from that reservoir as well. But it seems like this has been a yearly ritual that we do here. And yearly, my constituents suffer for it.
The lawmaker also stressed on the need for the government to intensify the fight against illegal mining, which she believes has had a damaging effect on the operations of the Ghana Water Company Limited, managers of the Weija Dam.
Galamsey is not just affecting those areas that the galamsey is being taking place, but it affected everybody because the water that came to the dam and then was splitted all over our place. You can see the color of it, and the color really showed that galamsey is affecting everybody. And then water people, they are complaining that when it happens like that, they have to treat it with more money, with more solutions or more chemicals, and it causes them. So we should also be careful and fight. We all come together and fight against the galamsey, because if Greater Accra is suffering, water coming from elsewhere, coming to Greater Accra, and it is not treated well, the people here will get sick. And therefore, you know what is going to happen to the economy.
Listening to the MP for Weija, no new information in there clearly. She knows what the issues are, how to deal with them and all that. So I think time now for us to take decisive action in dealing with this particular issue and not reduce the conversation all the time to lip service, talk, NADMO stepping in with relief items and all that, and then we go back to sleep. Because look, even yesterday, we realized that the residents said they have not even been able to receive the items from NADMO, which they said that they were going to begin the distribution yesterday. And for me, if these people have been able to return to their homes and they've made some losses, how are they able to indemnify themselves as residents? So NADMO has to really expedite its action in giving out these relief items to the residents, while the assembly, NADMO itself, and then municipal authorities tackle the main issue there.
While we say the water itself has actually receded, there are still, so people can perhaps now access the routes leading to their homes, but their homes actually still have some level of water left on their compounds, and for daily activities that they want to go through, they may not be able to do so. Some of them still have their mattresses in the water. So rightly so, NADMO should try as much as possible to release these relief items to the affected residents.
Let's stay a while longer on something similar and take you to the Eastern region, because authorities of the new Juaben North Municipal Assembly are also appealing for support after heavy rains displaced thousands of residents there.
The new Juaben North Municipal Security Council and the Disaster Management Committee have made a passionate appeal to the international community, governmental organizations, civil society, private organizations, individuals, and the general public to support both in cash and kind to bring relief to residents of the municipality who have been affected by the floods. Now, according to the Municipal Assembly, over 2,000 people, which include almost 1,000 children, have been displaced, with more than 200 households either collapsed completely or partially damaged. Now, the Assembly is, however, set to begin a demolition exercise to get rid of all structures on waterways. Citi News' Neil Niamati Kanako has more.
Collated figures from the new Juaben North Municipal Disaster Management Committee indicated that one person lost his life at Asokori during the recent floods recorded in the municipality. Over 2,000 persons, including almost 1,000 children, were displaced, with more than 200 households either collapsed completely or partially damaged. Briefing the media on the latest flood issues in the municipality, the municipal chief executive, Madam Comfort Asante, who appealed for support to help mitigate sufferings of the affected persons, said the assembly has intensified public education on the health implications of the flood and the possibility of an epidemic.
The Regional Highways, Urban Roads Engineers, Municipal Security Council, our MP, and the Health Directorate have been working assiduously day and night to contain the flood situation. So far, data collected throughout the municipality indicate that the worst hit communities are Akwadum and Asokore. The municipality, unfortunately, recorded one death, who has since been buried.
Madam Comfort Asante further indicated that 4 schools in Akwadum have been shut down indefinitely for security and safety reasons.
Unfortunately, Akwadum, we don't have second service schools there. All the schools there are basic. And we have Islamic, we have MA, and we have a Methodist, and then Catholic. So all these 5 schools, and they are close to the streams that join the Densu. So I think they had the flooding even before the main roads. So there's no way we can allow any of these schools to have classes. So for now, all these schools, 4 schools in Akwadum, none of the school is running.
For the new Juaben North Municipal NADMO office, they are handicapped and are hoping to receive some support from the national headquarters. Blavo Eden Believe is the municipal NADMO administrator.
Rubber cows, rubber bulls, and rubber markets. What we have now is inadequate, and we wrote to our regional office for more items to be given to the victims. It's inadequate, and we are waiting for if it comes today, we will proceed.
Addressing concerns on structures developed on waterways which largely contributes to flooding in the new Juaben North municipality, the municipal coordinating director, Alhaji Ibrahim Tijani Amadou, who revealed that the statutory planning committee has directed a review of building permits issued to developers, stated that a number of structures on waterways will soon be pulled down.
At the last statutory planning committee meeting, this issue was discussed extensively. We realized that even though that we give permits,
One life has been lost, thousands displaced as a result of the continuous rains experienced in parts of the eastern region. Assembly says they are going to demolish some unauthorized structures to make way for, a proper solution in this particular regard. Something I think the authorities must really work on.
Yeah, so at the risk of repeating myself, the municipal coordinating director made the point. They need to now look at permits that they've given to people, the demolition. I think that we know what to do, and we can't go on every day repeating these things. We only need a will, and we need to act.
Very well. You are still watching CNR Extra live here on Citi TV. I am Lartey. In studio with me here today is Citi News' Hanson Agyemang. Still to come on the show. The National Democratic Congress describes the Akufo-Addo government's fight against illegal mining as a failure. We are back with our stories and more here on CNR Extra. Don't go away. Thank you for staying. You're welcome back to CNR Extra live here on Citi TV. Don't be left out in the conversation. Share your views and comments with us on the stories we are bringing you via WhatsApp 0550585832. Or alternatively, you can join in the conversation on Facebook and Twitter via various social media platforms which have been displayed on your screens. Let's move on, because the opposition National Democratic Congress has waded into the recent debate on Ghana's fight against illegal mining. They say that the Akufo-Addo government has not been able to resolve the issue and feels that what they have been up to is really a scam. Here's why.
The National Democratic Congress, NDC, says the Akufo-Addo government has failed woefully in the fight against illegal mining. The party describes the measures and strategies put in place by government to fight galamsey as a farce. There's more in this report.
Speaking at a press conference at the NDC headquarters in Accra, the National Communications Officer for NDC, Sami Jemfi, alleged that some members of the NPP and government are involved in galamsey. He added that the surest way to wage a successful war against illegal mining in Ghana is the political will of duty bearers of the country to confront the menace.
That as far as we are concerned, and as the evidence bears us out, the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government has not exhibited any genuine commitment to the fight against illegal mining. And that their so-called fight against galamsey is nothing but a scam. Indeed, we have always told Ghanaians that the single most important thing needed to wage a successful war against illegal mining in Ghana is the political will of the duty bearers of the country to confront the menace and all the dark forces fueling it, regardless of whose ox is God. It has, however, been clear to us from day one that behind the facade of the so-called galamsey fight of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government is a well-crafted ruse designed to appropriate the illicit galamsey trade for NPP apparatchiks and higher-ups in the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government and their foreign collaborators. Time without number, we have got the clearest confirmation from countless instances of state-backed complicity active participation, and sometimes clear aiding and abetment of illegal mining activities, not only by officials of the New Patriotic Party, but by some of the very men and women in the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government entrusted with the responsibility of protecting our environment.
Mr. Gyamfi further questioned President Akufo-Addo's call that the fight against illegal mining must be depoliticized.
How can the man, President Akufo-Addo, who stood on a political campaign platform in the year 2016 in Obuasi and promised to promote illegal mining, aka galamsey, when elected, lecture us on the need to depoliticize the fight against illegal mining? How is that even possible? And maybe somebody is hearing this.
So essentially, the NDC really thinks that the fight against galamsey has been lost. And for me, at a point where many have said that it's time for us to take, decisive steps in dealing with the issue once and for all, and also the political will to ending this particular menace. I want to believe that the NDC, if they have any alternative, should collaborate with the government of the day to ensure that we are able to save ourselves from the threat of galamsey, other than throwing accusations, blaming government. I think we've gone past the blame game.
Well, more interesting, again, is that the very president who said we should make it a non-partisan fight, actually, in making that point, goes ahead to say that if we are able to win this fight,
we are able to break the
we are able to break the 8. I mean, if you make this point, and if there's any truth in this, who would then help you to win the fight and then break the 8? So I don't know. Sometimes you may want to think that really what the politicians say is they say one thing and really mean the other, because if we really want a collective effort towards fighting illegal mining, first thing, we shouldn't be hearing the president equating the success of the fight
to their political
fortunes, because you need a buy-in of people who do not really wish you well in your political campaigns and in the elections. And then, if anybody was supposed to listen to the president and let us understand that indeed we are going to fight this collectively, the National Democratic Congress, because they are the largest opposition party in the country as of now. Perhaps the two parties should come again. Maybe if really they do want to fight illegal mining, they should come again, collaborate, and make statements and take actions that will reflect that point.
When I listened to Sammy Gyamfi yesterday, you realize that he was touting the NDC's achievement back then in their fight against illegal mining. I don't know what they did, but he was constantly on the neck of the NPP, citing names and all that, and even threatening to, as a matter of fact, when the NDC comes into power, how they are going to deal with some of these things. I think the time has come for us to, sit down as a nation. We know that most of the talks that have been held in the past have not yielded any result. But let's move away from that. Let's see PNC, PPP, NDC, all the political parties, they should come, because we've realized that it is the political lining in this fight that is making us fail. The fight has become a fiasco now because we've realized that state actors do not have the political will to end in it. And anything can happen. They might even come into power in 2024. Let's now hear from them what they are making to ensure that if in case they even come to power, they are able to solve it. Because I think this accusation left, right, center, back, it's not helping the conversation.
But the point is, again, that the group that is supposed to lead this charge is the government that is in power now. If you lead your communication well, and you get the buy-in of everybody to follow you, these accusations and counter-accusations will cease. We would have to wait and see how the NPP will react to this. Already I've seen elements within the NPP go back into 2015, 2014, take video sharing, saying that this is the NDC's record. I mean, it's part of the politics, and as a student of politics, I won't downplay this at all, that when it comes to politics, the fact about putting context to issues and comparing track records of your opponent is key.
But as I said, the NDC does not even have the moral right to talk about.
But as I said yesterday, at a point in time, we would all have to agree that for just this one cause, for just in the same way when we're fighting COVID-19, we said for just this one cause, let's take politics out of it.
All right, let's see how this development unfolds in the coming days. But let's take you to the Ashanti region, because management of AngloGold Ashanti say they are ready to bring some form of development and employment in the area in which they operate.
Now, the management of AngloGold Ashanti Obuasi mine says it is coming up with new initiatives to help give the mining town of Obuasi befitting status. Now, the company is confident that the intervention will address the numerous complaints that inhabitants have made publicly in recent times in relation to underdevelopment and unemployment in that area. Citi News' Bureau Chief of the Middle Belt, Edward Opomafo, reports.
In recent years, inhabitants of Obuasi have complained that the area has been neglected and not seen the deserved development, despite it being a leading mining town. Residents keep complaining of unemployment in the area, and many say there are limited job opportunities for the indigents. Due to these concerns, there has been a lot of agitation by residents in recent times. For instance, the residents during a recent demonstration called on AngloGold Ashanti Obuasi mine to cede part of its concession to be used for community mining purposes. In addition to this, they sent petitions to relevant authorities.
This is our petition for the government and Nananum to prevail upon AngloGold Ashanti to cede its abandoned mining sites to the members of the association and the youth in general for community mining purposes. The undersigned, and on behalf of the members of the association, we would like the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, through Honorable MC Elijah Adansebona, Honorable DC Faustina Emisa, and the Nananum of Adanse Traditional Council, to prevail on AngloGold Ashanti Obuasi mine to cede its abandoned mining sites or pits for community mining purposes, and also to employ more Obuasi citizens.
The Municipal Chief Executive of Obuasi, Elijah Adansebona, who received one of the petitions, even joined the call for AngloGold Ashanti Obuasi mine to consider releasing a part of its concession to the people in the area to mine, and also come up with a package to benefit the indigents.
I would also take this opportunity to plead with AGA that, yes, we are all witnesses to the fact that there are people who are not from Obuasi but getting the opportunity. We are not saying that only Obuasi people should get the opportunity to work at AGA. However, they should also consider us, because we have been with AGA for so many years. The impact of mining has killed a lot of people in Obuasi, just as in Takwa and any other place. So they should consider the people of Obuasi. They should package something for Obuasi. Aside from the concession they need for mining, they should also consider Obuasi people. We are not saying no Obuasi person is working in AGA. Some are there, but comparatively, I think we have more people from outside Obuasi than those within Obuasi.
Following some of these concerns from the indigents, the management of AngloGold Ashanti Obuasi mine says, as part of its 10-year development plan, it has started developing a comprehensive strategy to develop Obuasi and also make the lives of the people better in diverse ways. Emmanuel Bedu is the sustainability manager of AngloGold.
And the overall goal of the 10-year plan, based on consultations we had with our stakeholders, is to ensure that our support for the development of Obuasi is contributing to building resilient and socioeconomically self-sustaining communities. This is not something we start in our offices and thought of because we feel we are in Obuasi and we know what is happening. It was based on an extensive consultations with all stakeholders at all levels, including institutions. Even at the national level, we did engage. At the community level, at the municipal and district assembly levels, we invited or spoke to decentralized agencies, and that is how we're able to put together the plan. And to be able to achieve the overall goal, Three key intermediate outcomes were identified, again, through the consultations we made. One of them is around improving social development. Another one is about diversifying and sustaining the local economy. And then the third one is around partnership.
He made this statement after paying a courtesy call to Citi TV's Kumasi office, where he stated that he's hopeful that their new interventions will help address the concerns the inhabitants in Obuasi have raised over the years.
Our objective is to help contribute to the development of Obuasi. And development is about people. Development that is human-centered. So over the 10-year period, our interventions are focusing on job creation. So if genuinely, we all know that illegal mining is a very complex space. There are a lot of players. Some of them are very invisible. Some of them have motives beyond just livelihood. Normally, we tend to look at those who venture from only a livelihood point of view. But I'm telling you, the chain is so complex. So we believe that truly those who are venturing because of livelihood through the 10 years will be deliberate, and some of them definitely will be captured.
That's the assurance from management of AngloGold Ashanti. We do know that for every organization, you have a responsibility. That's corporate social responsibility to improve the lives of persons who live or reside in the area in which you operate, in the form of some developmental projects in education, health, and what have you, and even the construction of other social amenities to improve the lives of residents. We know that some time back, residents of Obuasi, they demonstrated, saying that the company has done too little for them, and so they want to see some form of improvement in their livelihoods. But the call here for me is the level of engagement. What are the real needs of the community? Are they able to give them what they deserve, so that we don't come back to the situation where you say the community say they didn't engage us, this is not what we want, and all that?
Well, and it is quite troubling that an oil, a mineral-rich community like Obuasi will have to starve in certain developmental projects. And often than not, you get people compare Obuasi to the likes of Johannesburg in South Africa and indicate how in that particular city, the mineral that have been mined there have been used to develop the community. And you often are not get pictures, and it's as though the Obuasi township in itself is even hanging on a certain roof because most of the lands within the place have been mined. And I think that is appropriate, even though already per the constitution there's a structure for which the gold mined, the royalties are paid, the portion paid to the chief, some goes to the state. So there's that sort of development need, not only in Obuasi but in a lot of communities that have that mining goes on. Then I think that various state institutions and then the companies themselves should take it upon themselves to make sure that they develop these communities.
Let's see what management of the gold company is able to do in the coming days. But this is still CNR Extra on Citi TV, still ahead on the show. Central Bank increases its lending rate to 24.5% as it moves further to tame the country's rising inflation. We return with our story and more. You're welcome back. This is CNR Extra on Citi TV. My name is Larte. In studio with me is Citi News' Hanson Agyemang. Let's move on and do something on the economy, because the Bank of Ghana says it is on a disinflationary path because it has decided to increase the monetary policy rates. Here's more in the following report.
Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has increased the policy rate by 250 basis points to 24.5%. This means the cost of credit will go up, making it more expensive to borrow from banks. Now, business operations and daily living expenses are also likely to go up. Now, addressing the media, the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, explained that the committee reached the decision in order to check the rising rate of inflation as the country negotiates with the International Monetary Fund for an economic program.
The Monetary Policy Committee recognizes the fact that the current condition is suboptimal and will be interim until agreements are reached on an IMF-supported program. The committee assesses that the engagement with the IMF has been positive, and early conclusion of program discussions will help re-anchor stability. The outlook for the Ghana cedi has improved, aided by the recent disbursement of the loan from Agyemang of $750 million, the signing of the syndicated cocoa loan of $1.13 million, and the agreement with gold and oil companies to purchase the repatriated foreign exchange earnings, estimated at $83.9 million so far. All of these should help to stabilize the Ghana cedi. Inflation remains elevated, and the balance of risk is on the upside. Although the forecasts are for monthly inflation to continue to slow down, the risks are on the upside, emanating largely from the pass-through effects of the currency depreciation, the recent upward adjustment in utility tariffs, and rising inflation expectations. The committee remains committed to re-anchoring inflation expectations and returning to a disinflation path. Under the circumstances, the Monetary Policy Committee decided to increase the monetary policy rate by 250 basis points to 24.
So the Bank of Ghana, as part of its measures to tackle high inflation, depreciation of the cedi and other macroeconomic indicators, has decided to increase the monetary policy rate by 250 basis points, which is translating into 24.5%. So if you look at the trend, this is I think the fourth time it is increasing, because apart from 2016 where it kept reducing, for this year we've seen 3 or 4 increases, and it's because of the high inflation we are experiencing. And the Bank of Ghana says this is the path to disinflation.
Yes, so I mean the issue about interest rates, and this basically goes direct to the point of interest rates and the lending rates, and these are measures that are used globally across the various central governments. Use this measure as a way of checking on inflation. So the inflation and policy rates have a form of parallel relationship. So
as we speak, our inflation rate is 33.3%.
So if once the inflation is going up, central banks tend to increase policy rate. The point basically is that when you increase your policy rate, it increases lending rate. So the rate at which the banks will lend money to you for business will increase. The thinking is that now the cash flow becomes controlled. So if the cost of borrowing is high, then you will not borrow a lot. And what that leaves you is that now you don't have a lot of money in the system for production, and then this feeds into your demand and supply. So if you don't have a lot of money for purchasing or for production, that means that your supply becomes constant in a bit. Your demand, so the sort of money that people will use to purchase goods in a certain way, it's tamed. And if demand for goods reduces and supply increases, then it cuts down on the price, because if the supply of the product is higher than the demand, consumers who are now buying the good will have a lot of, power over negotiations, which will then now beat the cost of the production down, of produce down, cutting down on inflation. Basically, this is what the Bank of Ghana is seeking to do, and a lot of central banks use this approach. Do you also think it's part
of our measures as we head towards the International Monetary Fund?
Well, certainly it is part of those measures to at least tame it until we get the sort of support we need from the IMF. But then again, just this week, World Bank came out with a report indicating that the previous about 750 basis point that we increased the policy rate to did not really affect inflation because, again, of the timing. So it will be interesting to look at how this really, on the face value, will affect the inflation that we are facing at the moment.
Is going to announce this particular rate again is somewhere in November. So between now and then, let's see how things will unfold as far as our economy is concerned. But that's our show by way of CNR Extra here on Citi TV. Thank you so much, Hanson, for making an appearance on the show. We're also grateful to you for watching. This is Citi TV. Keep watching. It's indeed your world. Goodbye.